I will start off with these prayers. First and second half of the page we'll do before the teaching, and then rest we'll do at the end of the evening. O fully enlightened, blessed ones, Buddhas dwelling in the 10 directions, Bodhisattvas and great Bodhisattvas abiding on the 10 stages, great Vajra holder gurus, please pay attention to me. Until gaining Buddhahood, go for refuge in Buddhas. Also Dhamma, Sangha, Bodhisattva assembly. Offer body also wealth, virtues, merits of these times, without any attachment, forsake all beings. As those who go to the past, give rise to bodhicitta, learn Bodhisattva's precepts, and train stages in accord. For the sake of all beings, I embrace bodhicitta. Also learn to live by the precepts, stages in accord. O fully enlightened, blessed ones, Buddhas dwelling on the 10 directions, Bodhisattvas and great Bodhisattvas abiding on the 10 stages, and great Vajra holder gurus, please pay attention to me. Until gaining Buddhahood, go for refuge in Buddhas, also Dhamma and Sangha, Bodhisattva assembly. Offer body also wealth, virtues, merits of these 3 times, without any attachment, for the sake of all beings. As those who go to the past, give rise to bodhicitta, learn Bodhisattva's precepts, and train stages in accord. For the sake of all beings, I embrace bodhicitta, also learn to live by the precepts, stages in accord. O fully enlightened, blessed ones, Buddhas dwelling on the 10 directions, Bodhisattvas and great Bodhisattvas abiding in the 10 stages, and great Vajra holder gurus, please pay attention to me. Until gaining Buddhahood, go for refuge in Buddha. Also Dhamma, Sangha, Bodhisattva assembly. Offer body also wealth, virtues, merits of 3 times, without any attachment, for the sake of all beings. As those who go to the past, give rise to bodhicitta, learn Bodhisattva's precepts, and train stages in accord. For the sake of all beings, I embrace bodhicitta, also learn to live by the precepts, stages in accord. Now I have reaped life's good fruit, for I have good human life, born in the race of the Buddhas, become indeed Buddha's child. I, from now on, ever course, hold legacy of this race. This faultless mendicant's race will be never polluted. In the front of God in refuge, today I invite all beings as my guests. Till they attain Sugata stages, may the gods and demigods rejoice. May the excellent bodhicitta take birth where it has not yet done so, where it has been born, may it increase freely without degeneration. May I never part bodhicitta, engage in bodhisattva's conduct, being guided bodhicitta's way, may I renounce all evil deeds. In the heart of bodhisattva's mind, intend to help the welfare of beings, whatever our wishes of the world, may all sentient beings attain them. May all beings possess happiness, and that by desert all lower realms, bodhisattvas abiding in the stages fulfill all prayers and their wishes. May they strive in all paramitas, never forget bodhicitta. May all obstructions and misdeeds become complete in its purity. So to strive in the practice of the paramitas, or perfections, or transcendental practice, this particular chapter 6, it deals with the paramita of perfection or practice of tolerance. And so we have covered up to verse number 37 in the previous session, and we're going to continue on the rest of it. This particular section we're going through is talking about how to practice patience by not highlighting the harm or instigation, by learning to disregard the little upsets and still see the weight of the merit of the virtue of the patience, and not defeated by the harm or instigation. How to therefore practice compassion to those people who appears to be inflicting or harming or or pushing our wrong button, so to speak. Instead of focusing what I did, one should see what we could do to turn that into a cause of our own growth, rather than cause of our own lack of growth, which is impatience is what it does. So learning to disregard the harm of others and learning to see what good we can turn makes us to change a perception of what appears to be the alleged harmer. The alleged harmer we do not see as an object worthy of our compassion when we are in a mood of retaliation, when we are into the mood of saying who's right and who's wrong. When you get into the dualistic right and wrong, then your combatant mind fails to see the role and virtue of patience and how much deserving of compassion the object may be. But only when we are able to have a very clear conscience, then we will be able to not focus on what they did, that is already done. Now, how to repair that, rather than how to do similar things to them, which is retaliation does. Retaliation causes mutual distraction, if not more. Whereas patience considers what growing that one can do by the alleged harm, with the alleged harm that we are experiencing. So the verse number 38, it says, "And when, as victims of defilement," that's exactly when you are in the mood of practicing patience with others, you will be able to see others as we are in the same boat. Both are equal victims of defilement. Being even cause their own destruction, because the people who have done maybe unacceptable thing to us, they have already done much more serious harm to themselves as much as we think to us. But maybe we are not realizing that they have already been doubly harmed, more than that harm that we are acting as something intolerable. See, the wisdom that is seeing that the victimness of equally how victim the perpetrator is by the defilements, as we are now by our anger. Patience only can allow such clarity of mind thinking. You can think like that. When we are not in the patient mood, we say, "How dare you do this to me?" Straight away, as if we are. They are sort of benefiting the more harm they cause to us, and we are the loser. We don't realize how much a senior a victim they are. They are much more senior citizen victim. They are more senior citizen victim because they suffered by the anger or the aggression more earlier, longer, maybe habitually than we are. Yeah. Even if compassion does not rise in us, even if we cannot quite give rise to compassion in us, we can at least refrain from being angry. Shantideva said, at least you can, even if you cannot be compassionate to them, at least you can just hold on the anger just a minute. Just being able to, because the anger that we are about to retaliate, it is exactly the thing that has perpetuated the other to do the same. So we're not going to get any better if we do the same thing, because they are victim of anger, victim of affliction, and therefore they are raising voice, or they're aggressive, or whatever they are doing. And now, if you can't see them doing self-destruction and inviting us to engage in the mutual destruction, then if you can't see compassion to them because they're already suffering by the effects of their anger, whether we will suffer or not is we got a choice. It's just like whether we haven't quite ticked the box, yes, saying I will suffer too. We haven't quite said we will suffer. Because we are able to see that even if compassion does not arise in us, means usually you should arise compassion in us because the other is already victim of their anger, their selfishness, their drunkenness, their bullyingness, whatever it is. They already just, maybe they've gone through that for a long time, not just us. And when you really look at it, it's true. It's a just kind of bad habit. It's an addiction. So then, in particular, when you know who this person is, then he might be your objects of care, or respect, concern, responsibility. We all have responsibilities to people, If I don't practice patience, what I'm going to react is going to really affect them many more times than they ever estimated what they are doing. So if I can contain myself, practice this, so the Shantideva is, this is like making peace. This is like peace, giving peace chance, because we're hesitating the retaliation. We're hesitating that we are only the victim of their action. They are victim of their action too. So we are about to become victim of our own anger. But right now we have only slight sort of advantage of not having raised the voice or said the same thing, or not become as angry as they are. Then we might have a moral advantage to be compassionate, because we at least are not limping. So we could lend a hand because ours isn't injured. But we sort of go and punish them something, and then what kind of advantage we have to help them? We don't. So we have become mutually distracted. We have just harmed. We become mutual victim of each other's anger, and so even if you can't give compassion to their suffering, give a compassion to your suffering, would-be suffering. Your own suffering can be preventable when you are giving peace a chance, which is patience. Patience is not a sign of weakness. A lot of people think when you practice patience that you're weak or you are wrong as they allege you, And sometimes it might be. We are quite partially wrong, We're already victim of our afflictions, so often 30% are caught wrong all the time. This question is how much we're going to chip in to get more wrong. See, so if we can't, by virtue of giving rise to their compassion, we also actually preventing our would-be future suffering. So actually, we are foreseeing, They say when you practice Dharma, you naturally will foresee the consequences. If I did this, I'll get that. If I don't do this, I'll get that. So what would be the advantage? And they say, I might as well pay patient, practice patience, out of compassion for the other. When you do that, of course, it has to be done motivated by the Bodhisattva, I have vowed to be kind to people, not only when I'm in good mood, when they're in a very difficult situation. It's more appropriate when they really need our kindness. They'll really remember it. Next time they'll remember it. Thank you for not reacting to it. No matter what terrible things you instigated, that you didn't take up to the next level of whatever action you can take. Some people may take advantage of it, yeah, but that's still, even that actually warrants more compassion. So you shouldn't feel doormatted. They say, doormatted. Well, good to be a doormat, that's all. It's better to be a nuisance. Better to be a doormat than a hindrance to anything. So, yeah. And don't worry about next time, even if they're going to do it. They've done that many times. That's the problem. That's the suffering. They don't deserve punishment. They deserve care, understanding, and compassion. And if you do that with wisdom, that's exactly what perfection of patience is, with wisdom, not just saying, we should be patient, we are Buddhist type of thing. People make a really sloppy job of patient, and then later on resenting and angry. So might as well get angry there and then, and that would be that That's what lots of people do. They just explode there and then forget about it later. They don't realize they're practicing anger, of course. But being able to think like this, as Shantideva says, even if you cannot immediately give rise to compassion, it's at least refrain from your getting angry. Because if you don't refrain from getting angry, you will be doing the same thing you are disapproving them doing. So what kind of benefit would that yield? No. See. This is interdependence, This teaching is interdependent, not just saying practice patient. We're sick of being told how to be patient all the time without telling us reason how to. Interdependent, it's a very intelligible reckoning which empowers you to reason thinkfully. And it's not that we are doing a favor and they're always taking advantage. It's not like that. Karma isn't so. You can't take advantage of because you're smart and not suffer the consequences of your wrongdoing, and only you end up suffering what they did. But there must be a much more organization called law of karma out there to make sure that we don't suffer the consequences of other people's wrongdoing. We don't. You just have to know why it doesn't. Even if they did horrendous things, but if you don't take that line yourself, for the time being, you will surprise how much that caused us to grow. That truly gave us to grow, and grow with kindness and wisdom, not as a favor to them, and later on we seek they should be needing to reciprocate us patient-wise. No such thing. It's more more that we interdependently, positively geared. What they did could be this way or that way, depending on whether it's positive or negative. It's just a question of what we do to it, not what they do to us. So, when you know that, even if you can't give rise to compassion, at least I can refrain from being angry just like they are. At least if one is not angry, the other is angry, then there is a possible that the problem may not escalate. See, now you are in a position to de-escalate the problem. Wow, that is giving. That is selflessness. That is humanity. And that is really bodhicitta. Who needs enlightenment when you can do that? It's much better you do such things than enlightenment. And you become a thin air to vanish under a Bodhi tree. You think that's a spectacular thing that the world will pay some attention to? People have this fantasy that enlightenment is some final big show, It has to be small enlightening things, small acts of enlightening things that is really important, rather than looking for this final culmination of a never having to suffer again and type of thing. That's not Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva is not escaping, trying to cross the line as quickly as possible. Bodhisattva is trying to stay behind the last line. It's not trying to cross the finishing line. That's not the purpose. What would be the purpose if you cross the line first and then there's nobody there? Everybody is stuck on the other side, and what would be the advantage of that? So let's not, fantasize or idealize enlightenment as some big thing, It has to be small awakenings, small acts of kindness, really. I think small acts of kindness really, really is what matters most. Even perfection of tolerance is too big a word, I think. It should be small acts of kindness and tolerance and forgiveness. We can at least refrain from being angry. So gentle is Shantideva. Even if you can't be so compassionate and very nice to them, at least you can just refrain your anger, can't we? He's slowly talking to you. When you pay heed to it, it's so encouraging, so optimizing. And now moves on, disregard anger, because if you say you have anger, you will anger by them. Then next is how to disregard anger, knowing the nature of anger. Because you think, I'm angry, they made me angry, and therefore you have justifiable reason to act on the anger. You know, what is the anger that you really think is the problematic to you, you know? So therefore this next one is how to focus on the nature of anger. If those who are like wanton children, you know, those beings who are angry, you know, angry and aggressive, are by nature prone to injure others. Because that's the characteristic, what anger does. It's like that's what alcohol does people to go insane and do say terrible things and harm themselves and destroy things. So if that's the nature of what anger does, what point is there in being angry? Like resenting fire for its heat. So if that's that is the nature of anger. So you don't fight anger with anger. You just see that's the nature of anger, and then see how pitiful and how awful the person looks, terrible what they say, and you forget all the good that you thought they had just totally get consumed by this anger. And their whole body looks so awful. What word comes out of mouth looks like completely not out of character. The beautiful, handsome person looks awful. All the jewelry just looks like shit on his ears. Nice clothes, but all just completely naked. Yeah, that's what the anger does. It just completely strips you of any qualities, any goodness that you have. So therefore have pity on them, and why you want to be so enthused to become like that? You know, why if somebody is in fire, why would you go and jump into it yourself? That's exactly so. You know, so therefore meditating on the nature of anger. It's temporary. It's adventitious. It is not independently in their control to become like. They didn't say, I'm going to be angry today at 3:40 p.m. And they didn't say that. They never wish they'd have to be angry, but they're just completely out of control. It's just like the demon got in them, so to speak. They're completely out of control. It never was independent. It never is in their mind. Never are even aware they are looking a bit aggressive and saying or doing things that are a bit unacceptable. They just are not themselves. It's just like alcohol. Person had too much to drink, you know. You can tell it's not himself. The person is in much in better space when the anger doesn't get into them. See, then you can retrieve your friendship. Then you say, this is my friend. You know, he's so not himself. I have to be careful. Instead of thinking, how you're showing anger to me, then we also get really cheered. Then, of course, that is not meditating on the nature of the anger. Nature of anger is dependent. Fire is not independently existing thing. It needs the fuel, it needs a little bit of, tinder and all that. If you don't add fuel to the fire, you might even try to remove some twigs, the fire will go off soon. The fire isn't independent, the burning thing. It is dependent on what else you do to the existing fire, whether you can remove fuel, whether you can not blow some waving or wave air or something, blow on it more, no throw kerosene on it. Maybe we are doing that when we are sort of think justified to reply or to stand up sort of thing. We actually throw in kerosene, on the fire that's by wood. So that's the nature. We have to understand the nature. Buddha's teaching uses a lot of analogies, because when we think of fire as an anger, fire as an analogy, fire burns, consumes, it destroys, incinerates. Likewise, the person is destroyed by his anger, physiologically, emotionally, cognitively. It destroys his sensibility. Exactly what I said. It just looks so awful. The person looks so foul-faced, bad-mouthed, and aggressive, and very unstable. Just like most people wish they can just get out because there's fire. When there's fire, you don't go and say, "Oh, this is really nice," and try to go in there. You try to get out, exit. When we hire places, they always show you how to exit the fire. So you have to go, get out of the fire as quickly as possible, not play with it. So this analogy is very important, that people are consumed by anger, and so that is not to be reckoned with in the way, but you should look at the helpless nature of the person in anger, and try to help by showing compassion, and possibly try to restrain your anger by meditating on this point. Then you are disregarding what they did, but becoming careful not to play with that, because you can quickly join into that yourself in no time. And if their faults are fleeting and contingent, this is the whole thing. The fire is only fire for a little while, as long as this got the wind and fuel and all those things. People, then fire is only there for a while where there are causes and conditions. Therefore, it's fleeting. Fleeting and contingent. If living beings are by nature wholesome, the person actually, when those causes and conditions doesn't rage him, he's very kind, he's very generous, very tolerant, usually does exactly opposite when they're in their good self. And that's quite possible. We can assist them to reclaim the goodness. It's really kind, isn't it? Then you know that they're basically wholesome. They basically don't believe in violence. They don't believe in aggression. They would usually discourage each other. But when that thing is in them, it's just like that. But that is still fleeting, meaning it's momentary. Just breathe a couple of rounds of breath, and maybe the fire will be off by then. Do a couple of rounds of breathing and see whether the fire is still there. Probably not, that's the whole thing. It's likewise senseless to resent them. You see. As well as angry at the sky for having clouds. It's another analogy Shantideva said. Yes. maybe sometimes, terrible weather today. People go out and look at the weather and there's no sun. They say, "Oh gosh," they scold at the sky for having clouds. So he gives an analogy. The nature of the sky is not coverable by cloud. It's not the nature of sky that is cloudy. It's because you are so low. Therefore, you see only the cloud. If you fly about 30,000 feet above, there is no cloud. The sky is not covered by clouds. Because you are so low, you can see the clouds. So therefore, do not think the sky has become cloud. The person is angry or whatever, but that's just temporary. You just try to look at the big picture of the person. All the other good the person does and will do. And then the momentary clouds will disperse. Clouds will disperse. Often you watch the clouds, how quickly they shift and become nothing and something. It's amazing. They look so big and so bulky and difficult to transport, but they move without a noise. So see our mental clouds, obscuration, we call them obscuration. Anger is obscuration, it's a clouds. But the clouds shows that there is vast space behind it. And the friendship between you and the person is much bigger than the clouds, like temporary kind of foul weather of the mind the person is raging with. When you can do that, see the Shantideva is giving you the logical reasoning of what to think, and use these analogies, and try not to lose the big picture. the basic Buddha nature. A person may have bodhicitta also, but temporarily people forget the bodhicitta, And sometimes they think they are being bodhicitic when they're angry, They think they are fierce compassion, because they heard talks on how to practice fierce compassion. Maybe they think they are practicing fierce compassion again. But actually, no, they have no bodhicitta at all. They just think this righteous thing, And they get, see, they forgot, but they still have bodhicitta. So when you remember that, we also remember bodhicitta. The good thing about that is we also remember bodhicitta, and then we do not, attack these clouds. We don't lump the person with his anger. We don't lump the clouds with the sky. The sky is still vast and infinite and clear as it ever is. So it's only clouds is very temporary and adventitious, fleeting. See, this is very meditative, isn't it? Quite meditative as well. Because practice patience is a meditation, and it shouldn't be some kind of holding the breath and hopefully things will be over. But it is very cognitive. You've got to intellectually reason it interdependently. When you're reasoning it, then compassion with reason, compassion with wisdom empowers us to practice patience. Patience is in us, a ready-made virtue. You can just pop up, like opening the parachute. It's not like that. Compassion, patience. It's only when both compassion and wisdom are both kind of moderated, cultivated properly, then the appropriate patience will be unleashed. It's not a hard, kind of a tedious task to practice patience. It's the blessedness. It's a very blessing to practice patience. It's not a tedious, inconvenient hardship that you have to bear through. Stay in a very foul mood and trying to practice patience. It's a delightful for the virtue, for the Bodhisattva motivated by bodhicitta and wisdom. The practice of patience is the amazing opportunity to display the workability of Bodhisattva's way of life. How quickly the problems are surmounted. You have no perfection patience without those kind of challenges. So it's only through these unruly sentient beings I have opportunity to overcome my own ungoverned anger and so on. Instead of attacking their anger, we look at our anger, we try to condemn that. And see, the mind is no longer thinking I'm doing favor to them. Actually, their suffering and their misery is waking us up to practice compassion and wisdom, and hence employ patience. So actually, we actually feel dependent on these kind of circumstances, and we are apt enough, we are punctual enough, we are correctly gearing enough, then we can practice patience. It isn't something you can just open a box and bring the remedy. It's not like that. It has to come born out of a very clear, cognitive, compassionate mind that actually knows the interdependence and fleeting nature of the problems. Interdependence of not only the problem, but also the solution. Even the patience is not an independently existing virtue that some bodhisattvas have got in their safe. And we just ask the bodhisattva, can you please open me? Sure, can I borrow the key? I need a bit of patience today. It's not like that. It's not a ready-made thing, It is contextualized by yourself and actually learning how to tailor it there and then by your own ingenuity and seeing the multitude of factors that you can use it for the purpose of your own growth and to appease and allay their sufferings. Because if you practice patience, it's not just a favor, not just a good, but it is actually compassionate to the other. it exhausts their negative karma by a compassionate response. If we don't respond compassionately, then even this small initial instigation becomes escalated in a huge uncontrollable problem because of our own reaction. See? We think they should be responsible. We should be responsible for our response. Out of compassion for them. What they did is little, and if we react badly, then that will escalate this much, and then become uncontrollable. With that kind of positive fear, we are compassionate for future suffering, prevent them from reoccurring, and try to eliminate the present enduring sufferings of theirs, make it fleeting as well. Wow. Making their suffering as fleeting as well, because their suffering is not independent and truly existing. You can make their sufferings terminate. You can terminate their suffering by your practice of compassion. See, so therefore it's not just trying to be brave for a while and everything be over type of thing. It is ongoing, You practice patience, and it's a to be continued. There is no one day practice patience then say, "Oh, that would be great, and at least I can put my feet up," type of thing. Practice of patience is always to be continued. It's not just what you did today is sufficient. Always to be continued, to be continued, to be continued. And more we practice patience, that much we feel grateful for the situations, and with that, therefore, we need when we have the recipe, when you have the Scud missiles or something, when you can shield the missiles, then it's okay, Okay, they can throw the missile, we can shield them. And then everything they fire us, we got an answer to it. We destroy the thing from landing us. We don't hit them, but we just destroy the very thing. So like that, But you can't prove that you have the shield unless you face they're firing at you. You can't say I got a lot of these anti-missile shield, but if they don't fire them, you can never prove you have an anti. You can't say I have practice, I have patience, So therefore, one should accept them, accept these challenges, and not dismissing them or ignoring them as if things would be fantastic if these things never happen, type of thing. If you don't have to practice patience, it's not a practice. So that's why it is important to utilize the opportunity in a very positive sense. And now, next one is verse number 41 is disregard anger by knowing its cause. It says, although indeed it is the stick that hurts me. And now this is an analogy of somebody hitting you with a stick, somebody hitting you with a stick or a stone. Although indeed it is the stick that hurts me, I'm angry at the one who wields it. So Shantideva says, I'm not angry at the stick, even though it's the stick that is hurting me. So striking me, but he is driven and impelled by anger. So it is his wrath I should resent. So instead of being angry at the person who hit the stick to me, which actually does the hurting, I should be angry with his anger. So because then the person is left out, person isn't attacked, his affliction is, and so this means the meditator has a chance to recognize attack the cause of suffering. If cause of the suffering is the stick and the person are not the root cause. They are conditions of the hurt. But root cause is anger. If the person and the stick are root cause of suffering, then as long as the stick and the person there, you will always be hit by them, isn't it? The stick will always keep hitting you. There should become magical stick. It's always hitting everybody. Because the stick is the root cause of suffering. Because as long as there's stick, it will always hit you. And if the person is the cause of it, then the person will always use the stick to hit. But the cause of the hurt is neither the stick nor the person. It's the anger. When the anger gets in the person, then then only the stick and the person gets in that state and to harm. So this is really talking about truth of the origin of suffering. What is the true origin of suffering? That's the noble truth or true origin of suffering. When you can recognize that, practicing patience is an understanding of truth of Four Noble truth of the suffering, and truth of the origin. It is not saying turn a blind eye, let that person hit again and again, and see it will be over type of thing. It's not like that. It's just playing weak. That will be just hopeless, Lots of people do that. That's kind of, playing the weak game, fear of losing position or job, and then practicing patience because of peer pressure. That's the most weakest kind of patience. Patience has to practice on the basis of understanding the root cause of the misery that you're about to complain, or misery that they are in the infernal. If the person is infernal, anger, then what they say or what they hurl toward you is not really, they are immediate cause of circumstances of the hurting you or injuring you. But the actual thing that is hurting and injuring you is their anger. And it is actually hurting them many more times themselves. So when this is really rather try to protect the person and be kind to the person and be really aggressive to the root cause of the problem. Root cause of the problem. Ignorance, of course. And then hatred is just a immediate affliction. But basically ignorance is complete unknowing, complete misunderstanding. When you have this understanding, it gives you this intellectual and emotional power to go over the problem and look at the root cause of the problem. And then you don't worry about the stick of the people, but rather at the anger that makes the persons completely themselves when that's get into their mind. And you could see that's about to do the same thing in you. So why bother trying to attack somebody's anger when you can't do anything with your own? So we therefore tackle the root, true origin of our own suffering, our own anger, our own ignorance. If we can attack somebody else's ignorance and anger, and then it stops the suffering thereafter, then the world would have been perfected by now. People have been doing that all this time, try to punish what appears to be alleged cause of suffering, but actually the alleged cause of suffering is never the root cause of it. The root cause is never detected. So this ability to detect the root cause of suffering and then have compassion to everyone for not having this ability, this is the biggest form of disability, is this. Yeah, if you see a disabled person, you try to help them out of compassion. You put your bag or something there and you go out and give them a hand. People are disabled by this fundamental weakness. That kind of way to practice patience is very, very, because you're attacking the root cause of it. When you're attacking the root cause of it, your own impatience is de-escalated. Your own impatience no longer there because your own root has been detected as well. You see, this is mutually beneficial. If somebody under anger is doing mutually destructive, one who's doing the remedy of it has to be mutually beneficial. See? And it is mutually beneficial. It is not just beneficial to them and we are having a hard time participation. Bodhisattva's way of life is doubly profitable. He only says it's a wise selfishness. If you can be a ledger of selfishness, he says it's a worth of selfishness this time. Because at least it doesn't put anybody in the cold. It takes care of the other as well as you. Both in the same boat, so to speak. Without any intention to guard yourself, so to speak, but just by virtue of practicing in selflessness, your own benefit naturally comes with that. They say if you have a good crops, and in the good yield of the crops, then you will have hay and you have all the other things, other grasses, no problem. So you don't have to keep growing hay for the sake of growing hay. Because you have a good bountiful harvest and it will have all those kinds of things. Bodhisattva has to be very, very, that's a person of the greatest scope practice. Bodhisattva. Great scope means it benefits everyone. It has a scope of benefiting everyone. Because selfish people who do harmful things, they do mutually harmful things. If they benefited from harming us, we will let them. We can, but they don't. They are suffering much more and lot longer than we will if we don't terminate that through our practice of forgiveness and tolerance and patience. So with this understanding, the motivation with which we practice patience has to be really, really wise, wisdom orientation. Not just trying to prove that we are kind, the others are cruel type of thing. Oh, they're so cruel, but I'll do the right thing. That sort of thing would be quite, we mustn't put them as a part of our own skillfulness came from their situations. Then we are seeing even our virtue is not inherently and independently, permanently existing virtue. It also requires all the factors. So this therefore makes our mind to grow, take to the next level, to see real harm is not caused by the anger of the other person or the stick. Real harm is self-caused. So that's captured in the next verse is, it was who in the past did harm to beings such as these. So now Shantideva is looking at the long distant cause of this pain, suffering that we are getting through people. But actually, I'm the one who did these sort of things to the people in the past. I mean, of course, we may not think that way, but Shantideva said, just think like that. It might take you next level. I must have done such things in the past, and just like this. And so, when others do me mischief, it is only just that they should injure me. So it looks like, so Shantideva is making us to focus that it is our own past faults that we didn't detect, we didn't contain and restrain then. Now it is sort of escalating, it is transforming into this fruition of past impatience, past aggression of ourselves to other people. Now this actually, Shantideva of course doesn't expect everybody to be able to understand this level. That's what a lot of neo-Buddhist or some traditional Buddhists who think carefully have difficulty swallowing this. They call bitter pill. Stephen Batchelor calls it bitter pill. Karma is a bitter pill. You can't swallow that Buddhist pill, he says. I don't know whether you get ever recovered if you don't willing to swallow bitter pills. Always sweet and pink. I don't think it works. Sometimes it could be brown and yucky stuff. So karma is a bitter Buddhist pill, they call it. I don't think karma is anything to be a Buddhist pill, because it predates Buddhism, So it's just Buddha articulated the workings of the law of cause and effect. It is enough. Buddha is created this system. It's not like that. Even if we don't believe in it, it affects us. Even if we don't explain to each other, it still affects us. Deep down, when some good things happen, we say, I must have done something to deserve this. People do that, isn't it? If they get something good, they say, oh, maybe I deserve this. There's quite a lot of people have lots of good fortunes in this life, and they just don't know why they're so blessed to have such things. And they are effects of some deeds. And when they have got some difficulties, And they should say the same thing. Oh, we must have quite a lot of people who are really traditional believers in Buddhism without intellectually having to try very hard and argue and debate. They say, oh, it's my karma. I must have done similar things, so I just tolerate, and this time if I be gentle with them, it will be purified. So then there's a lot of humility in acceptance. Humility and acceptance. It's not a weakness thing. This is my karma, I can't do anything, type of thing. It's not like that. As soon as you accept it, it's already changed. The problem isn't as heavy, as difficult as it previously presented before. As soon as you accept, the whole mentality and receptivity itself didn't make a lot of clamor. Accept. So this is very important. What Shantideva is saying. It was who in the past did harm to beings such as these. Because some people do these things. You never did anything to them this life, but they keep doing this to you. So Shantideva said, oh, maybe I had another incarnation. I should go a little bit more than 40 years. Because 40 years didn't start abruptly like that. There would be a pre-40 years, pre-40 years of consciousness and habits and so on. Then says, it was the past did harm to beings such as these when I'm angry, when I'm aggressive. And so when others did me mischiefs, when you think that others are trying to do this, it's only just that they should do what I did to them. So it's almost like, so then we accept, because practice of patience is in many ways accepting the suffering that is done to us, but let this suffering that I take, accept, exhaust the karma that I created with them, they also created by themselves. If I retaliate, then it will never end. It will just go endless vicious cycle. I think there has to be this goodwill, Oh, I did this, man. But who the hell wanted to deliver such messy karma to you anyway? They too is forced by their flag of karma. They also didn't want to be party to it if they knew how not to. But they themselves have no such ability to stay totally clean. So we are in the same boat, poor thing. So this is mutually inclusive karma, and we must be gentle and kind to each other. See? Then there isn't a rescuer. And we are, so the terrible people, I rescue them happily. No, we are both in the same boat. We shouldn't never take this phenomena of rescuer, the martyr, It's important not to be that, Just be there with the ones suffering, and they're just as similar as, if not worse, than we are. And don't treat as them that they have. We haven't done anything like that to anybody. We probably have done that like that to people in this life, let alone in the past life. Who knows how the karma get passed around? Oh, you did that last year? Yes, now this year you get it from him. And then like that, Maybe it's not so much past life as past life suggests. It could be just couple of decades and maybe a couple of months even. So it could be just as near as that. Buddha says that karma ripens before you can make a circle around the thumb. So when you talk about how quick the karma ripens. So it means don't ever sort of do something and think that you can get away with it. So if something's happening, just accept that and take the other and you in the same boat and be kind to each other. And then there is no martyr here. There's no rescuer here. There's not giving someone a free ride, and so they did all the bad things, but you just let them go, as then they will get away with it. Only if they can get away with it even more, we will do it. But the problem is, whatever terrible things they're doing, they'll get the result somewhere else. Don't you worry. You will be completely even-minded later on. Karma is very even-minded. Most equanimous authority is called law of karma office. Law of karma, if there's authority placed, they're very, very even-minded. They're very equilibrium. Makes no, they never forget, They never forget. I don't know how they make it. It's an amazing arrangement. So we should be enchanted by the workings of the cause and effect. I must have done this. Amazing. Otherwise, why is it happening, Instead of saying, why me, type of thing. Of course it will happen. Look, I must have done this. I must have ordered this. It's just like you didn't remember ticking that box last time when you ordered.
It's their job, the karma office. They get paid for it.
That's right, yeah. And sometimes people do the internet shopping,
Yeah.
They don't know. When the bill comes, they forgot they did order. It's like that. By the way, I have hardly bought any internet thing, but maybe occasionally some books. But some people, they buy everything online. And they're spending so much money they don't have. And then when the bill comes, then they think, where's this come from? Oh, that's all because they're only numbers, so they don't specify the name of the item so much, except when you get. It's like that. It's very, very, very difficult for us to remember. We did this to others before. When we can remember that, it humbles us. It prevents us from retaliation, prevents us from being very, very righteous and behave as we can punish them, as if the world isn't fair unless I do something now to fix it and make it even. So impatient. That's impatient. Law of karma is not that kind of a controvertible. It's not so failing. It is very unfailing. So therefore, it is our own past karma that is maturing and ripening. So this moves now to verse number 43 and 44, where it talks about how one is at fault. Not only at one is fault, but one is at fault in clinging. Clinging in the past and now. Their weapons and my body both are cause of my suffering. Say this taking the same example of them hitting stick with you. Says their weapon, maybe spear or the stick or the whatever club or whatever, and my body, both are causes of suffering. Both are causes of suffering. So this is important. Their weapons drew while I held out my body. So you should get out of that space in no time. You wouldn't be so easily hurled by the stick. Why did you protrude your 86-kilo body right there? You could have moved anywhere in the infinite space the universe has. Why you're so near there in the trouble spot? So you are completely responsible being so close to someone with a stick. Why didn't you get further? At least a meter or two. You would have been completely out of the problem. See, you are just as equal cause of the problem as much as you think is their hurling of the stick. See, they drew the weapon, and I just said, like this. Some people do that, When somebody quickly ran away, that's good. But most people don't. They just held out my body. Who then is more worthy of my anger? So this is looking at how we are clinging to the right view, thinking that my view is correct and they are at fault, and without realizing both stick and body are both causes. Because if the stick is in the person and who drew it, but if you're far away, stick can't reach you. So why you are so near to it? So you are basically immediate cause of the hurt, and so therefore one shouldn't think they are entirely at fault, because if they take the stick and they hit on their body, would you be complaining? See, so their hitting is on the body is not a problem. is they're hitting on your body is the problem. so you're clinging to the body. If he hit on someone you don't like, you probably say thank you. Therefore, it's so much clinging to the self and its body, and therefore we cannot tolerate it. If somebody hit the stick to somebody, maybe it wouldn't hurt you. Why not? If you really think somebody shouldn't hit at all. But depending whether we attach to them or we don't like somebody, then they hit, we say, thank you for hitting them. I was going to hit myself, but you hit. See? Because we're not clinging to that, then the hitting is good now. So that shows how clinging to the body as self is actually the cause of the main problem. And now the hurling of the stick is not. When you are able to think really like this, arguably difficult, I suppose most people would reason otherwise, I have this body all along, whole afternoon yesterday, whole last 40 years, nobody hit a stick on me because I've been hanging my body out, nobody's stick. It's this kind of person who hit me. So you might say that, that's what we make this kind of argument saying, my body's never been hit like this before. It's he who hit me. And then we think we have some kind of justifiable reason to punish them and do them. And of course, that's what makes us in a very retaliatory mood because of the clinging to ourself and its body is the real problem. This human form is like a running sore. Merely touched, it cannot stand the pain. I'm the one who cling to it with blind attachment. So our attachment to the body. Whom should I resent when pain occurs? That's exactly it. When the Buddha was sitting under the tree, very few people were hitting a stick on him, but sometimes they blew trumpet in his ears and they poke needles in his ears, and because they don't know whether he's alive or not, or however the wind or rain or sun, whatever they did. Because Buddha was not clinging to his bodily comfort, those things were not causing him upset, but he actually achieved tolerance. Asceticism is actually forbearing the hardships. Tibetan word is very good, biasly I'm saying, for ascetic practices. It's called ka tup. Ka means difficult. Tup means able to bear the hardship. Really bearing the hardest difficulty there is. Being able to bear the hardest and difficult things. Katup. Ascetic, I suppose ascetic is somewhat like that. People deliberately bring on this very hard kind of ascetic practices, missing food or clothes, comfort, and exposed to the elements, and still never minding their bodily comfort or that. So they are able to bear with such hardships. Katup tapasya in Sanskrit. Tapasya means you're just enduring difficulties for higher purposes. Enduring difficulties, that your difficulties, because even the word Shakya Muni, the word Muni is tup, means able, able to do what no others will do, able to conquer his or her inner weaknesses. Katup, katup. That, and they say, it's the first verse we read, I think. Let's read that. Not got the first word. No austerity to be compared with patience. So practicing patience is actually ascetic practice. It is the greatest renowned practice of renunciation. So it is, and you don't have to expose to weather, you don't have to expose to outdoor, wherever you get opportunity to practice patience, then it is the ascetic practice of patience that you are actually doing, Of course, if you keep doing like that for 6 years, it's pretty great endurance. If you have to do that occasionally when it happens, then, maybe it's good to endure whenever it happens. Not only when you are sitting under the Bodhi tree. Firstly, the Bodhi tree is so rare. Secondly, very few tree owners will allow you to sit under there. These days, I don't think you'll be allowed to sit anywhere. Somebody's lawn or, the rangers would say, what are you doing there? Do you have a camping permit? The chances of getting enlightenment and the trees getting slimmer and slimmer because hardly any places you can go, you can be like unowned nature and go and sit there. When we drive through drive through the Berry go to Siba, there's a lot of place people camping. I don't know whether they're allowed or not. They're all camping. Nobody matters because no one goes there to check on. There seem to be little sort of water and some things. Maybe they are meant to camp, but they're doing their stay 3-4 days. When we went on Friday, they're there. When we're coming back, they're still there. They really like to be close to nature. Very healing, I suppose. So in the end, it's not really hard. That is the hard thing. That it's actually so good. So good to let go of comfort, indulgence, and waste of resources, time, and energy. And that's the hardest thing for most people have, to give up those things. So when we're talking about patience, we are actually talking about enduring what needs to be done. They say there's a phrase called what had to be done. They don't choose. They don't say, I'll do this on Sunday, I'll do this on Monday. They have contingency plan. Whenever I need to, I'll do. What had to be done. Did what had to be done. So it's not picking and choosing, So one who understands the human form is so delicate, so fragile. Always my this hurts. I can't do this because of this. Always the body is a cause of all the complaints and excuses. And I mean, if one keep worrying about body, that's the problem. We are more worried about the vessel than the passenger. Keep painting the vessel all the time. In the meantime, it hasn't taken off yet. All the passengers sitting on the chair and they're bored and they're not going even a couple of miles. So always a slave to the body rather than the master of it. Human form is like a running saw. So don't think that your health is perfect and it's going to stay like that. It's a running saw, basically. It's already got 9 openings, so there's just questions how many more openings will come. Yes, here or there, whatever. Most of the surgical openings are quickly sewn, I'm told, but yeah. Quickly sewn, then it's okay. Otherwise, if you leave the opening very long, it's die. Merely touched, it cannot stand the pain, at the body, Somebody's stabbed, and if the wound is left open wound like that for a while, he dies from the infection. Lots of people are dying from the wound infection because that is like a sword. They couldn't seal it. So when we attach to our body, corporal body, and our attachment to the body is actually that makes us more pain than they're hurling stones or sticks at you. If you don't have attachment to the body, and then your wish was for the sake of the glory of the victory or the whatever prize money or whatever, the people, no problem. They can play in the rain, they can play in the cold, they can put mouth guard. Looks awful, but they just it looks very difficult, but they're just quite willing to like that. See, they're quite happy to be patient with that. It looks awful when they put the mouth guard and this and covered in mud. No problems. No problems. When they're willing to forbear those hardships, their main aim is this cold piece of metal shield. They want that. When they want that, not the body, they're quite willing to risk the bodily injuries and harms and they don't feel nothing. They feel great. They think it's great. They think it's great. They're so strong that these things doesn't matter. There are stretches waiting for them to carry, and they don't mind going the stretches. So even human beings set out to face hardships, they can. The question is for what purpose? Question is what purpose? Preservation of the body itself, or some ideals, some goals, purposes? It's just question is for what purpose we are able to practice patience for the sake of bodhicitta, for the sake of humanity, for the sake of compassion to somebody, or for the sake of us being very strong or powerful, or we can just do these things without food and clothes. I did these, that kind of name. What are you talking about? All due to attachment. If I'm doing this with attachment, it is, of course, not quite the practice patience. So therefore, one is clinging to the body. So therefore, it is going on further on how one is at fault due to the indulgence. This verse number 45 and 6 is, we who are like senseless children shrink from sufferings. It's so delicate. Smallest thing just upset us, and we think this shouldn't be happening, shouldn't have done that. But loves its causes, yeah. Loves the very cause of suffering oneself is unconsciously creating it, like anger or retaliation or righteousness, or we become very, very vocal all of a sudden, can't even check carefully a little bit, but just all of a sudden one can't even bear the thought, just straight away, without knowing that is the cause of the problem. That is going to cause more problem that you wanted to stop, like a senseless children. We hurt ourselves. Our pain is self-inflicted. See, Shantideva is so meditative. See, he meditates so much. When people don't meditate, they're very sure their harm is caused by others. They don't even question others. Do you think my problem came from somebody or myself? Nobody asks that question. They're pretty sure it is somebody. It's just question is who can help us to prove it right. and society out there waiting to help us to prove them we are right. All heading in the wrong direction. That is the pity. That is at stake, what we're talking about. Shantideva contemplated so much. With children, we hurt ourselves and our pain is self-inflicted. This word alone is worth meditating, isn't it? Worth meditating in all sets of examples here and there. How many times we went to that wrong direction and tried to prove them wrong and try to think that we didn't do anything to cause this harm to ourselves. It's all somebody else. Now that kind of ignorance, profound, deep, kind of man's head is completely wrapped in blanket, cannot see nothing. Goes to the north thinking it's south, goes to the east thinking it's west. And that's exactly what's happening. They're shrouded in this ignorance. And there's not even a benefit of doubt that I may be going the wrong direction. And never ask anybody, do you think I'm going the wrong direction? And the others say, no, you're going the right direction, I'll help you. I'll help you, I'll prove them wrong. You just have to provide more details. Yes, thank you, yes. I'll bring lots of details. I got lots of trouble. They're usually friends, usually friends and relatives straight away. Stand up beside you, be the... They also become children. So there's all this kindergarten everywhere. It's unmanageable kind of yard full of kids. Shantideva must be feeling so upset by this disease. Really, it's a disease. Our pain is self-inflicted. This is very important. Instead, he doesn't say you are. Shantideva doesn't address this as he's addressing to audience. He says our pain is self-inflicted. So you don't feel alone there. Our pain is self-inflicted, and our there's no object of anger. That's what it's saying. There's no one is there to blame to. If you succeed to do that, and then your pain should decrease. Every time you convince somebody is wrong, then your pain will go with that. Pain will be recovered. But the moment you realize pain is self-caused, and then we learn to uncause those, then you will recover. Then you really recover very well. And then you really recover well. Your heart and spirit and mind. It's true enlightenment comes from this inner victory. It's not about because if we can prove somebody else is wrong, then we should get better. But it doesn't get better, it doesn't get worse. It's just a dry name. It's just a worldly dharma to think that we can. That thing is, didn't have any hand in it. It's so wrong. The interdependence, as the Buddha said, everything is interdependent. If we are not, big part is not us, then at least good part of them is us. To think that others are on the main cause of our suffering, and we have done nothing wrong to instigate it. It is so obscured. Shantideva, is here like telling the news that is correct. That is usually never told. News is never usually told the correct one. The wrong views, just lopsided and biased. The true news is hard to accept, but it's so true when you check it carefully, because it has a truth that pervades everyone. There's no one who escaped blamelessly. Everybody accepts their responsibility, and as a result of that, then there's no mutual blaming or mutual harming. There will be still some growing to do until one is totally recovered. Then you truly recover. Once you really know it's self-caused, then you start not causing. So you see, what is my cause? My thought, my emotion, my language, and my behavior, my physical, whatever. Then you just start to uncause, start not to do the things ourselves, and meditate or pray or listen to the teaching. These things are the practice of Dharma, really. It is basically blocking us from the danger of opportunity where we will be self-causing harm again. Some people say, they miss the Dharma because they're so far away. There's no place to go and no like-minded people to learn with or study with. They really feel so much in the desert, Yeah, because when they don't have it, they feel they're more likelihood of causing pain, self-pain. Because they're exposed to very unfriendly environment and associates and kind of conversations and the way people do talk is so precarious places, so easy to harm ourselves. When our companions are childish, more childish than we are. And then even we thought we were a little grown up, we quickly become childish because most are in that very thing. They're all up doing this harmful thing to themselves. Senseless children, They say grow up means we don't behave like a children anymore, harming one's body or harming one's life or whatever. These are senseless. We who are like children, senseless children, shrink from sufferings. We have hardly any endurance to accept and bear sufferings. We shrink from suffering, but we are causing it. We are causing it. And what's the point of it, We don't want to be under the dust, but we keep throwing the dust. we have a whole sack of dust, and then we keep throwing. When we're running, but wherever we go, we throw the dust. So it is very senseless children. Senseless children. It's like they say, like in the environmental kind of terminology, that's what human beings are doing. We are consuming so much greedily that we are actually, causing our own environment depleted or harmed because our excessive greed and senseless use of things, using too many resources, unnecessarily wasting them, and not being conservative with one's use and need, and then when some huge reports comes that these are man-made, they think it's not. They think it's not. They think it's some kind of maybe the God who created wrongly or whatever, So of course, teaching of Dharma is it's the human behavior of human beings are caused. It's, if you really look at the richest countries are the biggest polluters. The richest, they're the polluters. They're polluting more, and they also know where the pollution comes from, why the environment is going through difficulty. They also the first one to know. They are still causing it. They say this is the problem, but they keep causing it, and they don't want to sign. They don't want to sign in Copenhagen or wherever. Because they might have to do some growing up job. No, they don't want to. They don't want to admit that they are. Why should others be the object of anger? If one really learned anything from Shantideva, there's a lot to be gained. Meaning that then most of the objects of anger are our object of now forgiveness, compassion. We revisit those earlier chapters, chapter on forgiveness or confession, or practice the prayer like we do at the beginning and end, and use those prayer and meditation to confess, purify, pass, self-cause harm, and then barking at the wrong tree for so long, and now how not to do that anymore in the future. Promise them and try to repair the damage that self caused, and then wake up and not being angry at things, but actually recognize the real anger should be our own wrong view, clinging to the wrong view. And when you have that, I think that's the hardest thing. The most ascetic practice is to be able to accept that. That's the hard pill. And being able to accept that. We may not sit very well, but that's the truth. In Buddhism we don't have truth. We have only 4 truths: truth of suffering, truth of origin of the suffering, truth of the cessation of it, truth of the path. No other truth mentioned. And the actual truth is the suffering. So the very suffering, that very truth of suffering is the nature of the existence. Its truth is only in Arya beings see it's the truth. So no ordinary beings only suffer and don't know the truth of it. They deny, they desist, they're discontent. No, without realizing that is causing the very suffering they're complaining about. The very suffering they're complaining about is that caused by this not seeing that truth. Not seeing the truth.
Is anger okay to be used like in protesting and standing up for your rights and the environment, or whatever rights that you think that you're all right?
But you can do it without being
Is that
angry.
going to be wise? anger?
I wouldn't go to a rally being angry.
No, that's not the intention to begin with, but the mob mentality sometimes...
You get carried away by the
like the blacks and
mob
white stuff, you know.
that they associate with everybody going that it, people never intended to turn the protest to be that. They thought they were going to have a peaceful protest. Then all of a sudden peaceful protest became very, yeah. It's actually most protests the word protest itself is just complaining and let this be registered and let those organizations, authority change their policy or do something about it. That's probably most really intention of it. But because of the mob or crowd, the crowd kind of energy is so unpredictable that even we were well-meaning to, maybe to, but usually the energy of the crowd becomes so uncontrollable. You never know,
If you sort of, I mean, I've been to a lot of protests and I've got friends who go to protests, and I think once you turn your justifiable grievances into anger, you've basically lost the plot. You've basically undermined your whole argument, as far as I'm concerned. When I go to protests, I go up and thank the police afterwards for being there and keeping us safe. So, because I've been to protests where there have been people who turn up and their intention is to get into a fight. I don't know who pays them. Sometimes I've found out, but there's nothing worth getting angry over and hurting someone over. You let anger in, you've lost your argument already.
Of course, this kind of practice is mostly like how we learn to practice tolerance with ourselves. Often the subject of protests are usually very kind of communal, societal concerns over which you feel you need lead a protest or whatever, and maybe you have very clear guidelines how to make a peaceful but well heard protest. I mean, there are lots of protests that has campaigns that work much better than those noisy protests do. And so a lot of lobbying, a lot of researching, knowing what the kind of people, organizations, special fields, funding organizations, individual powerful people. I think those kind of lobbying and campaigning probably is more effective, but maybe you still have to have some kind of mob that also rise behind you, because otherwise they wouldn't count some people to collecting signatures. I think these are various methods that to make the people take notice that powerful people, whole number of people putting the signature on, and making the funding bodies to not fund them. That sort of things. All this skillful lobbying nowadays is quite happening. I mean, not most people have no intention to make it violent. The cause for which they're angry is so real in them. They don't want to sit idly on the side and think that it's someone else's job. And when somebody's doing the leading and they participate. And of course then, because everybody is pretty much heated about it, purpose, it can go out of hand. It usually goes out of hand. And some people say, non-violent protest. They say that, but there are lots of other ways doing that. In this world, your noise will not be heard unless you make a noise. Silence is not heard unless. But that signature and an application, lobbying individual groups, funding body to stop all those things, I think probably it's more skillful. But then the protests has some whole world changing protests have begun, and someone has to sacrificed their life. They didn't meant to violate the world or whatever. But someone didn't intend to die or even hurt anybody, but they went in search of the cause and they died. And not because they intend to kill others, but the other side fired. And particularly if you have an authoritarian regime, in the West it's a little bit more civilized. That it doesn't have these massive killings that protest rallies happens in some places like third world countries. The government would totally zero tolerance. If you have a protest, they'll shoot at it. That's it. They wouldn't even give you a space to protest. So the lot depends to that. So okay. Moving on to the next verse, one or two more verses. So who indeed should I be angry with? So this is it's talking about if everything is self-caused, who indeed should I be angry with? The pain is all my own contriving. Likewise, all the janitors of hell and all the groves of razor trees. So this Shantideva is talking about the hell beings, the hot hell beings, where, he says even the hell beings, janitors, revered hell beings, those who run the hell, those who carry out the activities of causing the punishment to hell. That these are one's own doing. There are no real janitors out there. There are no real hellish beings who are carrying the axe and cutting people. As said, that they are usually the mental kind of hallucination of all the wrong thinking that one has done collectively. Then one creates an environment where one feels so badly exposed to that. So Shantideva says, what is the really legitimate object to which we can really afford to be angry and seek to gain some reasonable sort of outcome? So causer of harm is the one. The causer of the harm is our own anger. That is the real object we should be angry at. So this comes in verse number 47 by reasoning. Those who harm me come against me, summoned by my evil karma. See, but they will be the ones who go to hell. So it is myself who bring their ruin. So there's where Shantideva now goes to actually recognize that those people who appears to be cause harm to us, they are compelled. They are just like the delivery guy. They are the messengers of your own karma, and summoned by my own evil karma. So identifying one's own past karma that has made these things to appear. But them delivering our karma, actually they have to go to really terrible consequences to go to the hell. So I'm the one who's bring them and myself into such pain. So it's talking about this is now, of course, harder and harder to say that it's myself that actually even makes them to bring them to do these things. So therefore, I'm the one who really brings to the ruin of them and myself. So that's an overview. Then the detailed explanation, next two verses, because of them and through the exercise of patience. Because if I really think carefully, it is because of their kind of unfavorable work or violent work or unpalatable work they have to do. And if I exercise my own patience, my many sins are cleansed and purified. It's actually through this practice of patience, the dirty or hard work they do can be utilized to exhaust and purify my own karma. So that now this is really talking about how patience is a virtue. It is not just bearing hardships now, but actually purifying the past karma that we think is bringing these people to bring us the sufferings. So excellent opportunity to cleanse and purify our karmic debts. That's exactly what it's doing. But they will be the one who, thanks to me, will have the long-drawn agonies of hell. So Shantideva argues it's actually there. We'll have to go through this because of my own activities. So not only Shantideva suggests the need to use one's practice of patience to exhaust one's own karma that one previously caused this. So one has to purify one's wrongdoing in the past by experiencing this. But in the meantime, you can't help it, but they too will go to hell because I am the one who's practicing patience. And then through their kind of a complicated karma, they are the ones who have to suffer. So therefore we are mutually dependent. If we get to practice patience, if their suffering become cause of our patience, their kind of unpalatable work they have to do has become cause of our accomplishment of practice patience, if we are cooperative enough to do that. In the meantime, the hard, unpalatable work they're doing is going to make them to go through that. So because of that, the Shantideva talks about that one should really be angry at one's own selfishness. That is the actual cause bringing these things on oneself in the first place. Therefore, I am their tormentor. Therefore, it is they who bring me benefit. Yeah, if we succeed to practice patience, they are the one who bring us benefit, and I instead become their tormentor because of my past. Because of my past, they are now tormenting themselves. I, due to the patience now, have the power to not cause their torment become my denigration, but rather my growth. And so, therefore, how one sees the torment that we go to with them, we are cleansed, and but they will be the ones who thus with what perversity, pernicious mind, will you be angry with your enemies? So Shantideva now challenges that actually it is through their hard work I'm able to exhaust my karma and purify them all. And it's instead them who is going to go through the difficulties, because this is assuming they are not practicing patience with us, of course. If both are practicing patience simultaneously, probably neither of them will get very far. What do you think? If there are two people who are equally patient, I don't know how much their growth there will be. You have to go and try another. This is maybe people have to move from one to another relationship. Then at least they know how much growing they can do from less than maybe more than the other, and then we actually realize how we appreciate the other a bit more, but actually we didn't do much growing at all because they spoil us. So maybe the bodhisattvas never meant to be surrounded by bodhisattvas. Bodhisattvas may be accompanied by all of the challenges to test their virtues or lack of it. Very interesting point. So yeah, because the question is whether you want to practice develop patience or not. If you want to practice patience, then those people who do the hard negative things to you, they're obviously creating negative karma, because Shantideva doesn't give credit much to them, but actually if you practice patience to them, then they say that you have actually weakened the effect of their negative karma as well. So he's sort of not quite talking about that. He's saying, look, actually I'm the one who's benefiting, they're the one who's suffering in the hell. But actually the one who do harmful things, bodhisattva, sometimes people might say, it's terrible karma to do such things to bodhisattvas. But actually if you work against a bodhisattva, you probably have more chance of purifying your karma, even though immediately it is very, very unpalatable to do anything like that to anybody, let alone to a bodhisattva. But because bodhisattvas would have exhaust their karma rather than inflate it, they would not exacerbate the karma. Shantideva doesn't address that because that is not his focus. That's not practicing patience. But you can definitely counter-argue that, some people say, oh, how dare they say these things to him and such a great being and so on and so forth. Maybe there is some kind of because there's your karma is heavy or light, determined by many factors, including the object. Its object is vulnerable, holy. If you did it vindictively out of respect to them, it may be a little bit heavy because who they are. But if you did, because they are holy beings, if I do it with them, maybe it will exhaust my karma more quickly by their blessings. Maybe then, even though you might do something, maybe there's a lot of teaching happening, Because if you practice, if somebody bodhisattva is practicing tolerance, I think it will be indirect teaching. Indirectly, it's really teaching, and teaching more than the teaching itself, Isn't it? They will actually more, because people harming each other, childish being, they never learn from each other. They think, that's all you do, and no matter what, always tit for tat. But when they have opportunity to harm some bodhisattva, then a bodhisattva practice patience, maybe that will teach them, maybe that will grow them, that will really wake them up. Because, they've done similar things to others that they never got such sane or kind response, but now they might then see the virtue of patience. Then they might really wake up. So this is quite an important point. So we'll stop there tonight. And next week I won't be here, but I've asked Jamyangla to continue reading. And he's just as capable of commenting on these texts as he's done this study with me before and can read Tibetan and Sanskrit both. So
Did we finish end of 49?
Yeah, 49.
50 onwards.
Yeah, 50 onwards. So I'm going quickly to Tibet. I'll be back hopefully. If not, bye. Bye, anyway. So let's read. In the spiritual energy, there relieves the anguish of beings in misery and places depressed beings in eternal joy. I lift up my heart and rejoice. In the goodness and producing illumination, I lift up my heart and rejoice. I rejoice the beings who have gained eternal liberation from suffering. And I rejoice in those attained to Buddhahood, as well as their offspring, the noble bodhisattvas. In the ocean-like virtues of Bodhi-mind that brings joy to all beings, and in accomplishing the well-being of others, I lift up my heart and rejoice. To the Buddhas of the 10 directions, I join my hands in respect. Let blaze the light of Dharma's truth for the beings lost in darkness. To the Buddhas considering parinirvana, I join my hands in prayer. Do not abandon beings in sorrow, but remain and teach for countless ages. May my spiritual energy that is generated by my devotion to the enlightened ones be dedicated to dispelling the misery of beings without exception. As long as disease afflicts living beings, may I be the doctor, the medicine, and the nurse who restore them to health. May I fall as a rain to increase the harvest that must feed living beings, and in ages of dire famine may I myself serve as food and drink. May I be an unending treasury for those desperate and forlorn. May I manifest as what they require and wish to have near them. My body, my possession, all goodness, past, present, future, without remorse, I dedicate to the well-being of the world. Suffering is transcended by total surrender, and the mind attains to nirvana. As one day all must give me up, why not hesitate to do the universal happiness? My bodily powers I dedicate to the well-being of all that lives. Should anyone wish to kill, abuse, or beat me, the responsibility is purely their own. Should anyone wish to ridicule me, may make me the object of jest and scorn. Why should I possibly care if I have dedicated myself to others? Let them do as they wish with me, so long as it does not harm them. May no one who encounters me ever as an insignificant contact, regardless whether those with whom I met respond towards me with their anger or faith. May the mere fact of meeting contribute to the fulfillment of their wishes. May the slander, harm, and all forms of abuse that anyone should direct towards me act as cause for their enlightenment. May I be the protector of the helpless, a guide to those traveling the path, a boat that wishing to cross the river, or a bridge or a raft. May I be the land for those requiring it, a lamp for those in darkness. May I be a home for the homeless and a servant for the world. In order to fulfill the needs of beings, may I be a magical gem, an inexhaustible vase, mystic spell, cure all medicine, and wish-granting tree. May I act as a mighty earth, or like the tree from the skies, to support and provide space wherever I and others may grow. Until every being afflicted by pain has reached nirvana's shore, may I serve only as a condition that encourages progress and joy. Just as all previous Buddhas first gave rise to precious Bodhi mind, and then just as carefully followed the stages of Bodhisattva discipline, likewise for the sake of all sentient beings do I now myself generate Bodhi mind, and likewise will train myself in the discipline of a Bodhisattva. They who out of wisdom have seized the supreme body mind, praise, glorify, and rejoice in it, that it may grow to fulfillment. From today I reap the fruit of life, having well won the state of man. Today I am born in Buddha Brahma, and now a child of the Buddhas. Thus in future I shall take every effort to live in accord with the Bodhisattva's way. Never should act as it would bring shame to this noble, faultless form. Like a blind man fumbling in a garbage happens to find a rare and precious gem, likewise I have discovered the jewel of precious memory. Thus was found this supreme ambrosia to dispel the lord of death, destroyer of all, an inexhaustible treasure able to cure the poverty of all sentient beings. It is the highest medicine to cure the ills of living. It is the tree giving shade to those wandering the paths of life. It is a strong and mighty bridge which brings beings across this misery, and is a moonshine of mind to clear away the pains of delusion. The Bodhi mind is a great radiant sun to dispel the darkness unknowing, and is the very essence of Buddha gained from churning the milks of Dharma. For long who would take on the substance of joy. Here is the actual seed of true happiness, the veritable feast that satiates the world. Thus today, in the presence of all awakened ones, I want every being to this festival, giving both immediate and lasting joy. May the gods and all others rejoice.